New Pornographers continue as guest album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from one of the best to ever do the damn power pop thing, the New Pornographers. These guys and gals are a Canadian supergroup of sorts. They've been at it since the early 2000s, pumping out really catchy indie rock and, like I said, power pop. Now, I kind of throw this around a lot, but I don't think I realized just how much the New Pornographers actually mean to me until, an album cycle rolls around. In every sense of the word, they are a major, major influence for my, getting into indie rock. As a matter of fact, the band's material on Electric Version were some of my favorite earliest indie memories, honestly. All of their early releases are just stone cold classics, whether it be the very peppy and heartfelt Mass Romantic, the unbearably catchy Electric Version, or their indie rock classic Twin Cinema. Now, I did lose sight of the band for a little while. I still think Challengers is their worst album by far. I listened to it 2 weeks ago. Still not feeling it, and I kind of was worried that the band was going to fall off, but alas, they actually came back with some of my favorite of their works. I've always said that Together is one of their best albums, and while I had reservations leading up to Brill Bruisers, it's a very colorful, very fun release, and while many people were just kind of shrugging off the Whiteout Conditions album, I actually found a lot of that material on that album to be really likable. Now, a few years back, we heard from them with the In the Morse Code of Brake Lights album, and this was easily the most lukewarm on the band that I've ever been. By far. This album to me was very safe. There were certainly some great tracks like Falling Down the Stairs of Your Smile. I thought that track was fantastic. But the majority of this album to me just didn't seem, to be given the love and attention that most New Pornographers albums are. And leading up to this new album, I certainly had my reservations. Let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with really, really light, and truthfully, I've been very kind of lukewarm on this track since it dropped as a single. I initially bashed the hell out of it. It's very stripped down and artsy indie rock too. It's got a very breezy atmosphere. That's all fine and dandy. But it is the low energy all around, seemingly, that just rubs me all sorts of wrong ways. Now, interestingly enough, I read that this hook here that we're getting is actually one that Dan Behar wrote around the Brill Bruisers album, and he kind of ended up not using it for the album. Obviously, it's been reworked into this track, but I kind of get it, but God, the energy on this track is so mediocre. With some of the worst moments on here, and there are quite a few of them, I feel like I've run out of excuses with the band, that my worries the last time I heard from them, kind of just going downhill and the energy not being there anymore, it's very much a thing on this album. The title track, Continue as Guest, is not good either. This track is so boring. The atmosphere is actually really cool. It has a mystique to it. The sax on this track is really cool as well. But outside of that, these vocals and lyrics are not cutting it for me at all. It's just so slow and subdued. Even when those guitars come in, it's just so boring. But like most New Pornographers projects, there are moments here of pure magic. Like Pontious Pilate's home movies, hearing this as a single gave me a shrivel of hope, and I still think it's a really great tune. I love how determined this track is. There are a few moments on this album that are just as cohesive and well thought out as the material we get on this track. It's so catchy. I love the hook. I love the harmonies. It's moments like this that, when it comes to the more indie side of their music, I don't have to worry. It's the most instantaneous track here, and I do love that saxophone. Cat and Mouse with the Light is also really good. There are some great tunes on this album. You just need to dig for them. This actually might be my favorite deep cut here. It is just so warm and summery and instantaneous. What a beautiful atmosphere. Outside of that, though, this is business as usual. Great use of saxophone once again. The poetic lyrics are really nice. It's super instantaneous. And I have a lot of the same things to say about Last and Beautiful. I love the energy to this track. I love the riff, the yells in the background. I mean, it's not as upbeat and peppy as maybe I'd like to hear, but it's got a seriously hypnotizing riff. They lock in on a groove, and this track just works. And listen, when the new Pornographers are on their A game, they write absolute poetry, and this is them on their A game. Bottle Episodes is really sweet as well. I mean, I am completely immune to the charms of the Pornographers when they show up to work. This album, even though it's not for me as a whole, the one thing that I do love is just how blissful this atmosphere is. It reminds me almost of like Together era new Pornographers, the sort of worship to 70s radio rock that I would have grown up with. That sound from the Pornographers, which I've always loved. I mean, this track isn't, reinventing the wheel, but it's them doing what they do best, writing instantaneous and unbearably catchy indie rock with a lot of heart. It's the back and forth of the last 4 tracks on this album, though, that really kind of sealed its fate in my book. I mean, it's definitely one of the more underwhelming efforts from the new Pornographers at the end of the day, and that stinks to say. Marie and the Undersea is pretty good, though. This is one of the more hazy and formless tracks here. There's some really weird production tricks and some noisy instrumentals as well. But when this track turns into a much more breezier, upbeat version of itself, I actually really like what they're doing. The poetic, visual lyrics are added again, add in some group vocals and big harmonies and a great hook, and you've got a solid track. But then there's Angel Cover. My God, this track is so bad. The sluggish riff all around, the low energy. My God, this sucks. This, to me, is just way too safe. There's no sticky hook to enjoy. There's nothing that's going to make me come back to this track. They sound half asleep. Like, the tracks here that are bad are absolutely abysmal. But Firework and the Falling Snow, for as straightforward as it is one last nice surprise. The warm synths give this track a beautiful, sunny overtone to it. And once again, songwriting, when it's on, it is absolutely stunning. But the Wish Automatic Suite as a finale, God, I'm so let down by a lot of this album that I'm just exhausted by now. And the last thing I needed right now was another low energy jam. It almost puts me to sleep. Once again, they sound asleep. I'm not happy about it. And yes, eventually this track picks up about halfway through, but then I feel like they're just trying to cram a lot of different things in and nothing really comes together. Like, it sounds like they're overcompensating, just throwing in a big sticky hook just to see if it sticks, and it doesn't really. It's just another kind of reminder to me that this band isn't what it used to be. And listen, this isn't the worst indie that you're going to hear all year. Trust me, when this album shines, it shines very brightly. Their songwriting is impeccable as ever, and when they write a sticky hook that really sticks with you, my God, can they ever put magic to a tape? Like, the harmonies are great, but at the end of the day, the low energy, just the sleepy performances, the subdued nature of this album, it is not for me. And yes, there are highlights, but when this album is boring, I'm struggling to stay awake. It's just not my cup of tea this time around, and I'm worried about the future of this band at this point. For now, I'm feeling like a decent 6 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.